All right, I am ready to go. I'll let you
Three,
lead the charge.
3,
Am I
2.
sticking up?
Yeah, we're good to go. Nice.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, 3,
Awesome.
2, 1.
All right.
Aminta, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Or is it evening? It's like 6
You know
o'clock,
what?
right?
I think it's right between almost sunset, so
There you
we're
go.
almost there.
Yep, sun's in my eyes. It's definitely getting there.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
You're very welcome. Absolutely.
All right, so I'm just going to do like a very quick intro about you. I've been reading about you all afternoon. You do some very impressive work, especially in the realtor realm.
Thank you.
You are a internationally recognized realtor. Am I getting that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
That is correct.
Although you operate primarily, as the website states, out of the Florida area, and you do a lot of the Florida region, you also sell in places around the world. Am I understanding this correctly?
That is correct. So yeah, if I could kind of expound on that a little bit. So I am known as what you call an internationally designated realtor. Okay, or real estate agent. But there is a difference between the two. So realtor in itself is actually a designation, and most people don't realize that. They don't know that. So there's realtor and there's real estate agent. Yeah.
What's the difference?
So the difference is, great question. The difference is, again, realtor being a designation that is earned by our national body as realtors. So from the National Association of Realtors, they are our governing body, if you will, and they are the ones who award the designations. And so the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent primarily is that we are set, or we adhere to a very high ethical code. So, and a very high standard of practice in our business and our profession. So that's what realtor, when you're working with a realtor who is associated with the National Association of Realtors, just kind of give you some perspective, that's who you're working with. So not all real estate agents are realtors, but all realtors are real estate agents.
Gotcha. So, and like, what are like these standards, these ethics that one has to adhere to achieve this title?
Yeah, so dealing honestly and fairly with the public, being transparent in transactions and about yourself as a professional, again, working ethically and going above board, basically just making sure that the process is completed in a manner that is consistent with our code of ethics, basically. All right, and just at the end of the day, doing business with someone the way that you would want to be dealt with by a professional in their area of expertise.
Gotcha. All right. So someone gets a real estate license, they become a real estate agent. Do they have to like sell like X amount of houses before they become a realtor? Like, is it like an earnings process?
Yeah. So the way that it works is, for example, if you like starting from beginning from scratch. So you decide, you know what, I want to go into real estate. I want to become a real estate agent. So what you do is you decide on the real estate school that you want to attend. You enroll. You take the course. You get all your hours in. You take the end of class exam, and then you have to take a state exam. Okay, and so once you take the state exam and you pass the state examination, you are awarded your state real estate license.
Yes.
So, like for example, Florida, for the state of Florida, you're awarded a license. There's no criteria for you to, because you can't sell real estate. You have to be licensed in order to sell real estate. So there's no criteria set or quota set before you actually earn the license. You get the license, and then it's up to you to, sell as much real estate as you want. You have to decide which category or which arena or area of real estate that you want to work in, what capacity. Is it residential? Is it commercial? Then there's several facets of commercial real estate and also several facets of residential. Do you want to go into leasing? Do you want to become a property manager? Because you do have to be licensed to manage property in the state of Florida. So there's a few variables after you get your license that you have to kind of consider, basically. And then the best way to try to figure that out is do some research. Go talk to someone who's already operating in that area that you're very interested in going in. See what that looks like. Maybe even shadow them. I'm a mentor, so I provide mentorship to my team. So I'm the team lead and their mentor and instructor. And so with me, that's a unique set of services that they receive when they join my team. But outside of that, if you don't have a team, you have no idea, no clue where to go, what to do, start talking to people and just, Google names, Google people that seem reputable or that have been in the business for a while, not necessarily 30 or 40 years, but someone that you can see consistently does business in your market, and go talk with them, see what it's about.
Yeah, according to your website and everything that I've looked up on you, that's not a creepy statement.
It happens. You're not the first. Trust me. There's so many people looking.
Yeah. You've been at this for about a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on your website, I know so just now you said that you want to choose which facet you want to go into, but on your website it says that you do like residential, commercial, property management. You do all of it.
Yeah.
So how does one go from like picking their niche and then re-expanding out the way that you did? What's that process like?
I'll give you the path that I took. So initially, I started a property management company, like when I first got into real estate. That was my start. So I started working with investors, and I managed like over 100 properties across 5 counties. And so I operated that. I made my investors a ton of money. And then I ended up selling my property management company, and then I moved into the sales arena, which was really exciting. So what I'll say before I move further is that sometimes people who have been in the industry will tell you just go to one thing and focus on that. Focus on residential real estate and just do that. Or focus on just working with buyers and just do that. My path was, I've never been an in-the-box kind of person, so I've always been kind of on the outside, of just wired that way. And so every time there was a challenge, I would accept the challenge, and I would operate in that fashion. So I started in property management, which gave me a huge advantage when I moved into sales, because I know everything about a house, because in my property management role, I worked with subcontractors and contractors. I worked with the owners. I walked properties. I assessed properties. I looked at the exterior. I'm looking at the interior. I was on site for renovations when they took place. So, and then I had interactions with the tenants and leases. And so it gave me a really, really firm foundation when I was able to move over into the sales aspect. So I say that to say I started in property management. And then I went into sales, but even in sales, I've completed residential real estate transactions, investment real estate transactions, commercial leasing, commercial sales, and I've worked with wholesalers. I've helped wholesalers like structure their contracts as well. So it's been very diverse. I also provide consultation. So if someone is not necessarily sure about, like for example, a client, if they're not sure about how they want to buy, where they want to buy, what that looks like, I do provide consultation services to kind of help them. I help them come up with a strategy or a roadmap to move forward. And if they want to come back to me, for me to help them through to secure a property or to help them through a transaction, then I provide that as well.
So you're not just a saleswoman. Then it seems like you have your hand in every single part of the real estate transaction, start to finish, as well as like. Based on everything you just told me, you sound like a knowledge hub that just busts out like information and like and value to everyone around you about the real estate game. That's kind of like your niche right now. What you're doing, you're not so much selling as much as just providing information.
I am selling, so a lot of that. Like right now, I'm in the process of expanding my team. So although I'm still selling in the background, I've had to kind of not really put it on hold, because I'm still getting referrals, and people are referring people who are moving to Tampa, we'll talk about that later, who want to purchase in our market. So a lot of times I'll end up referring that business maybe to some of my team members. If it's someone who lives here in our market and they want to transfer out of our market and move to another state or city, then I facilitate that. But I will say this, so that's a great term you use, is knowledge hub or information hub, because what I've found in my experience is that when a client or someone approaches you, they have no idea. If this is not what they do for a living, they have no idea where to start, because there's so much content, there's so much information about real estate. Real estate is a hot topic. So people are listening to different channels and
bigger
different
pockets.
sources. And bigger pockets is a credible source. I like bigger pockets.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah, they're amazing. They've done a huge service to those who have any interest in real estate whatsoever. So big fan of Bigger Pockets. Shout out to Bigger Pockets. But yeah, great guys. So there's a lot of content out there, though, aside from sources like Bigger Pockets, that's not necessarily truthful. A lot of times, as you know, because we're in the digital space or the digital era, some people are just copying and pasting, and there's no real substance to the information or content that they're posting. And so I've always felt like, even from the beginning, I had to understand my market. I have to understand what the numbers look like so that I can provide value add to anyone that I'm working with. So like, for example, if someone comes to me and wants to purchase a home in our market, one of the things that I'm really best known for is when you come to me, and a lot of times it's a referral because they had an awful experience previously, they'll come to me and say, hey, I want to purchase this home. Okay, well, you want to purchase this home, or purchase a home, well, where do you want to buy? Like, do you know the area? Are you familiar with Tampa? And they're like, no, I'm coming down from New York or Boston or wherever, or Texas. I have no idea. I just know my friends live here and they told me I should come join them. Okay, so let's talk about it. So I'll sit down with them and do some, consulting and provide a buyer's consultation. And I will literally pull out my map and I will show them visually, or whether it's a Zoom or online or in person now. This is the Tampa Bay market. What are your needs? What do you need that's going to help facilitate the lifestyle that you want moving to Florida? And so we look at those things and we create a list. And then I also look at, because numbers are important when you're going to buy, what does the strategy look like? At some point in the near future, will you be interested in investment real estate? Are you buying a home just to purchase a home for you and your family, to live with your loved ones, a primary residence, or do you want to do something more after you purchase? I will tell you, probably 9 times out of 10, it's always, I want to get an investment real estate. And there's always like, what do I do, right? So I always feel it's my job, and I've always operated this way, is to make it as clear as possible what those options look like. Because it can be very confusing for someone who's not familiar with how to navigate, purchasing a home or nonetheless like moving to our market, which is the hottest market right now. Tampa it's crazy right now.
We rose over 30% in 6 months.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes, that is crazy. But I saw it coming, because going back to me being a numbers person, I'll give you a prime example. I had a client who purchased a home about almost 2 years ago, and they were referred to me, again, going back to referrals, because they heard about me. So we sat down, we had a meeting. I said, tell me what's going on. Like, where are you in this process? Well, they paid a huge sum to a program that came to our market. Sometimes there's programs that come to our market in hotels, and everybody runs up to the back of the room. Okay, so we know how that works. But they invested a heavy sum of money to obtain coaching, to have somebody come visit in the market, and do all these things that were promised, but that didn't happen. So, and let's just mention, by the time they invested that money, it could have been a down payment on a couple of investment properties. So we'll just put that there. So we got to keep moving, right? So we can't stay in that space. So I said, look, I know where you are. I know that was frustrating, but let's try to think forward now, okay? So he ended up purchasing a home. He lived in the home. Because this was the trajectory. I was like, okay, if you want to get an investment real estate, you're going to purchase this home. You're going to have it financed, but you are going to live in the home. And then you're also, at some point down the line, when it's feasible, rent out your home. But what he did was, and we came up with this plan, was like, well, where am I going to move? I said, don't worry about it. The whole purchase in itself was very strategic. I made sure that he had enough room in the back of his yard to build a structure.
Nice. That
he could live in while he rented out his primary residence. So he operated his primary residence as a short-term rental property. So he cash flowed. After about a year, he lived in it and then cash flowed. And so he stayed in the back, and then eventually he sold it. Now, going back to when I first set eyes on this home, I said, listen, these are the numbers. I pull out charts and stuff and stats and everything, and I go back 24 months, and then I go back 12 months, and I show the market activity based on how the market is performing. And I said, listen, I'm projecting because of this activity and because this is what's happened, I'm going to project that this is what's going to happen here. No, I don't believe it. No, you're kidding. You know, that's just, I don't think that's really going to happen. I said, just trust me on this. I've done this numerous times, okay? I said, the numbers don't lie. Well, when I tell you we closed recently, he netted over $100,000. It was a game changer. He said, you were right. I said, I know, the numbers don't lie. When you purchase a home, you're buying a home, yes, you're getting financing, but what is it that this property can do for you down the road? Like, don't think of it in one way, just in a one-track manner. Think about it in, I like to use the word multiplicity. So think about it in more than one aspect. Like, what can this property do for you? Now, if you wanted to live in it as a primary residence the entire time, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But you said you wanted to create wealth, and you wanted to, this is where you are, you're at the ground floor, you don't know what to do and where to start. So now he's invested in a couple of other investment properties because he netted the cash. And it was so funny, when we sat down to close, he was just really excited, but it was so amazing to see that another client's life has changed, like, for the better.
Through real estate.
So
it sounds like you're training people to be investors more than just selling them a house.
Exactly.
That's wicked. I've never heard a realtor do that before. Because I've been studying the real estate game for 5-6 years now, and mm-hmm. I've met a lot of realtors, and I feel like there's a huge disconnect between the mentality it takes to be a realtor, and the mentality it takes to be an investor. Because the realtors, most of them, it just seems like they're like sell cash.
Yeah, get a check, get the commission.
But then, like, you know, they're like, oh, if you buy this house, you can flip it for cash. But then, to be an investor, mm-hmm. the mentality is, you know, it's equity play, it's mm-hmm. cash flow play, it's mm-hmm. passive income play, and
mm-hmm. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. So that's the track that we were on, and that's what I explained to him in the beginning. I said, look, you're going to purchase this home. It is going to appreciate. You know, we can't guarantee anything, but again, I saw the trends coming because mm-hmm. of everything else that was coming to Tampa. So I like to always keep, you know, I always say I'm on the pulse of the market. I have my finger on the pulse of the market. I do. So that was the play. His property appreciated. He earned equity in his home, so that's why he got over $100K when he sold it. You know, but at the same time, he was cash flowing. That is a sweet spot to be in. You're cash flowing and growing equity like through the roof. That's crazy. But it presented an opportunity for him to go and purchase other additional investment properties. So now he's got a multi-door, he's got a triplex.
Ooh,
and
those are hard to find nowadays.
They are. That's why you have
searching.
To really. Yeah, have you really?
Yes.
You have to really stay on it and be connected and look at listed properties and off-market opportunities as well.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I mean, we've definitely demonstrated. You definitely know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for the audience, I already knew.
Yes, I appreciate that.
All right, but I want to rewind it back a little bit because there are some people that I'm in a Discord and they're starting realtors, and mm-hmm. a couple of them are struggling right now. So I want to kind of hear about like your story when you started into the sales game, because I know
mm-hmm.
you already had a background understanding of real estate, so you had mm-hmm. that as a leg up.
Yeah.
But I want to know. But I'm just curious, like, what struggles did you encounter when you first encountered the sales game? Was it as smooth as, you know, it sounds in my head, or were there bumps along the way?
Yeah,
and how bad
sure.
were the bumps?
Yeah, absolutely, Rex. You know, with any endeavor or any field that you're going to pursue, if you're looking to be a professional or expert in that field, there's going to be some bumps in the
mm-hmm.
road. And it's not, I think some people do have a fantasy about real estate. You get in and you're going to sell a house and get a contract and get a commission check in your first 30 days.
Yeah. And you're going to get $30,000.
And you're going to get 30 grand, right? And that's not typical. If that happens, that is an anomaly, but it might have been because someone who knew someone who they were already connected. Let's just say mm-hmm. that, and they went and got a license to make themselves official, right? Mm-hmm. And legal. So my experience, or for me, it was a little different, unique because of property management background. For most agents, it's a very confusing time because they don't really understand. Once you pass your state exam, okay, now I have to choose a brokerage. Mm-hmm. Well, how do I choose a brokerage? Well, what you do is you interview and you vet brokerages. So there's a number of them out there. There's some, straightforward questions you can ask. What some of the things you want to ask them is, what's the culture like? What are the expectations that you have for me as a new agent coming into the brokerage? What is the can you give me an example of the workflow? Like, do you offer training? What type of training is it? Do you have a training calendar? Do you provide mentorship opportunities? These are some of the questions that new agents want to ask when they are, embarking upon this profession. They just get their license. One of the things they want to start to explore even prior to obtaining a license, before they take the state exam, is look at the different, look online, do some research. That's what the internet is for. Do some research, and also look at the different categories of real estate that are available to you to operate in. Now, we'll say commercial is a different animal. Investment real estate is a different animal.
Very.
I do not recommend doing that unless you have a strong mentorship program in place to help you get to the next level in those industries. And I think that's why a lot of more seasoned agents tell newer agents to focus on maybe working with buyers initially, just so that they can get the gist of how it feels to work with a client or customer, and how to go, move through a contract, right? And how to communicate, because that's going to be the biggest part, right? One of the main things that a lot of new agents have an issue with or problems with is, what do I say? How do I communicate? What am I saying? Like, I don't know anything. This is new to me, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately, there's a lot of content online. There's some scripts online that you can take a look at, and just kind of figure that part out. But what you want to do is, when you do settle on a brokerage or a company that you want to hang your license at, get with them and find out, hey, where's the training? How should I approach my customers? How do I generate leads? What type of leads do I need to generate? Do you all provide lead generation? And if that brokerage does, then fine, then you sign up for that and get going. Another thing is that's really important for newer agents to remember is patience. Like, you have to be patient, because you might get a lead and you get excited. I know what that feeling is like, but it might be someone who's just kicking tires and not serious. So one of the things that you want to make sure that you understand firmly is, how do I convert this lead? Because this is sales. Some agents treat this as a hobby, and it is not a hobby. It's sales, and it is your job, and it is a profession, so you should treat it as such. And when you do that and you show up for yourself as an agent, because some agents are like, well, nobody's talking to me. Show up for yourself first. Go network. Go to networking events. Talk to people who are already in the industry. Pick their brains. Like, it's free. A lot of this is free.
Take someone out to lunch.
Yeah, take someone out to lunch. Go grab a smoothie with them, or a coffee or a tea. And be genuinely interested, because people can tell when you're wasting their time.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready and you don't want to take it serious, don't pursue it, because you'll be perceived as that person. So you'll project that aura, that energy, or whatever, that you're kind of interested, but you're not. So do not move forward, in that respect.
So you can tell the difference between. So what you're talking about is just your different type of your leads. You have your looky-loos, you have your hot buyers, and then you have your time wasters, right?
Yes.
So you know how to tell the difference between them easily, because you've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a minute.
How does someone who's new to the game, wet behind the ears, how do they figure it out then? What are the signs that they need to watch out for when they're nurturing their leads? Yeah,
that's a great question. So one of the things, they can contact me if they need some mentorship. We'll talk about that later.
I'll plug all your information at the bottom of this.
Okay, awesome. No, it's a very good question. So, because I get this question a lot still with my team members, if they have a very particular situation or a certain type of personality that they're dealing with, they're like, how do I navigate this? So what you want to do is look at body language. And you don't have to be an expert at it, but just go online and look up, body language, and what does this say if this person does this, and study that for a while. Because what will happen is, when the more people you deal with, the more you'll see these body languages and gestures with each individual, and now you'll become more familiar with it, and you'll know how to operate. So like if someone is closed off, you'll understand what that looks like, and then based on how they move, you have to come up with a strategy. And sometimes at that very moment, when you're talking with them on spot, you'll have to kind of maybe tweak your communication style to either, number one, help them feel more relaxed, just kind of bring their guards down. Also, if they're kind of standoffish, you want to start like immediately, make them feel a little bit more, and be a little bit more inviting, or create an environment that's an atmosphere that's a little bit more inviting. So these are things that, when you're getting a lead and you actually sit down with them, or even on Zoom digitally, these are things you want to look at, and you want to be approachable and friendly. If you have a stronger personality, which we call dominant in real estate, so there's a DISC assessment too that you could take. There's several assessments out there. I highly recommend that if you're a newer agent going in, and really for anybody, do one of those self-evaluations and self-assessments, because it will really tell you who you are and how you might want to operate. And then you'll see this in another person as well. And then you'll understand better how to communicate with them. So that's one. And then now if you're on the phone speaking with someone, so we can't really see anyone physically on the phone, right? And this is aside from in person and Zoom. But you can listen to voice, and you want to look at things like, or listen to things like fluctuations in the tone, rhythm, just kind of syncopation, how are they speaking? So in real estate, I will say a good agent understands the art of communication.
Yes.
And it goes very deep. And I have closed clients who most people think like, oh, I'm never closing them. But it's about communication. And you can never assume as a new agent that just because you're sitting in front of someone and you have a real estate license, that they're going to do business with you. That's not in any business. It's like that. You're not going to close everyone. So you have to understand. Okay, what can I do to increase my chances of converting this person as a hot lead or a stronger lead? And just remember that all leads are not good leads, and all business not good business. But give yourself time to practice your craft, understand communication styles, understand the art of communication, understand body language and gestures, and don't take everything personal. It's just business.
That's such a huge one, because I've done sales for a while now as well, and it took me forever to just get over myself. Like, it's tough, because I always tell people, like, if you ever want to find out how tough you are, go sell something. Go have 100 doors slam in your face. Go have a million people hang up on you. Go have a bunch of people call you a slimy salesman.
Oh, really?
And still power through and close sales. And because there's few things more humbling than just going through that process over and over again. But if you can go through that, if you learn to deal with that rejection over and over again, you like. I remember the day my life changed. It was I was going for a sale, and I felt so good about it.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, the person just got up, left my office, and hopped in the car, drove away. And I was like, everything was going good. And then I did some more research into it. Turns out he has a reputation of going to random car dealerships and just doing that.
Really?
Yeah, because I talked to my friend who worked at a rival car dealership, and he's like, oh yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy. I'm like, wait, how do you know that guy?
That's fascinating.
And then that was the day I realized that the worst that could happen to me was that.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
I didn't die.
Yeah.
My loved ones didn't die.
Yeah.
All that was a no. That was a very in-your-face no.
Yeah.
But it's still the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I should be thankful because he left so abruptly, it frees up my time to go work on other leads now.
There you go.
And that wasn't just that moment was absolutely game changer. Just understanding that. I have to talk to a bunch of people who are going to tell me no before I find some people who are going to tell me yes.
Exactly. Exactly. That is a great example. And if that's the worst that can happen, keep going. And especially if you want to do this, if you want to be a real estate agent, and if you can't shake this thing about, at some point it's like, okay, I want to make money, but what's most important to me right now is learning how to navigate this industry, as a new agent. But at the end of the day, it makes you a stronger person. So it's like the more no's you get, or the more that people get up and walk out and drive away, guess what that does? It builds your character. And it also does another thing. It increases your confidence.
Yeah.
You become super confident because you're like, oh, okay, because you get to practice your pitch.
Yeah.
You get to you're practicing your profession. So at some point when you go through that, just don't take it personal.
It's not personal.
It's just a huge learning curve, and you're going to get on the other. You're going to get on over on the other side of the curve. And you'll do well and be successful. But there are some things that you have to set for yourself foundationally. Learning communication, have your ducks in a row. And even if, how some people say fake it till you make it. Well, listen, if you're going to a listing appointment, it's your first listing appointment, it's okay. It should be exciting. You're gonna be nervous, of course. You're gonna be shaking probably, but it's okay. It comes with the territory, right? Just make sure that you have everything you need in your arsenal to be as prepared and to be perceived as competent as possible. Now, one of the things that I provide to my mentees, to my team rather, is that if I have a newer agent on board, I offer to go with them to their first or second, and or both, listing appointment or buyer's consultation, just so I could sit there and just be being supportive, and I let them take charge in the conversation, and if I need to chime in, if they want my assistance, I'm there. But I try to encourage them to do it on their own, because that's where you really learn. You feel everything is visceral. You feel it. You get in the car and you're like, what just happened? You start thinking about all the things you could have said, right?
Oh man, I've had that conversation so many times.
Yeah.
And I still have it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I mean, like, because I'm always thinking like, what could I do better? What can I say better? What could I have? I'm like, oh man, that's like even I already know, like, on my way home after we're filming this.
Yeah.
Man, I should have asked her that.
Oh yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens. So it's just being one of the biggest things as a newer agent. If you don't know a whole lot, it's okay, because you can gain knowledge daily.
Yes.
And the good news is that you're practicing this, but we have to also understand, look, you have to take it serious, because this is a commission-based profession. So you have to understand sales. Like you said, your background is sales. Don't you agree? You have to understand sales. And if you don't come from a sales background, that's okay. You can learn more about sales. But make sure you're getting out there, picking up the phone, make 100 calls a week, right? Make 100 calls a week. It's a numbers game, so that at the end of the month you made 400 calls, and you can break that down, and you can decide, okay, by the end of the year, this is what I want my gross commission income to look like. Well, let's work those numbers backwards. Okay, you need to make this many calls per quarter, or you need to set this many appointments per quarter. Well, what does that equate to in calls per week or per day? What is your routine? What does your schedule look like? How much time do you need to spend prospecting? How much time do you need to go? And prospecting, by the way, includes phone calls, in-person, one-on-ones, networking events, and not necessarily events that where you're in the room with a ton of realtors. But if you happen to be in a room with a ton of other realtors, turn that into an opportunity as well. Because when you network with fellow realtors, you may have a deal, or they may have a deal, somebody may have a deal in the room that one of your customers are looking for, right? So make sure that I move very strategically. And everybody I work with knows this, my team knows this, and everything that I do is for a reason in my business professionally, and it works out very well, very well.
Sorry, so I want to touch on one thing before I hop onto the next topic. You mentioned networking events, and I see this over and over again in just business in general. People hear networking events, but they have no idea what a networking event is. So, so could you define that for us, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So networking it's about making it goes back to communication, but you're making connections. And what are you doing when you make a true connection? Say, for example, you go to an event, there's a ton of people there, all right? I scan the room, before I work the room. So you scan the room and you just kind of figure out, okay, you're looking around, you be comfortable. And this is for folks who are a little bit nervous and don't really understand how to navigate, move in the room or in a networking situation. What you want to do is, first of all, let people know who you are and what you do, because it doesn't make sense at all if you're just talking to people, hey, how's it going? How do you like the weather? No, you're there as a professional to gain connections with maybe a fellow agent or maybe a prospective buyer or seller or investor. So you want to, there's a lot of different ways to approach it, and I actually have a course on this that I offer my team. It's pretty advanced too, and it gets intense. We've got one coming up actually tomorrow. So anyway, it's very interesting what I do with my folks. But so anyway, what you want to do is, the whole point of networking is to make strategic connections. And you might not be able to close business with everybody you meet, but perhaps there's a collaboration, perhaps there is a business alliance that you could form with yourself and maybe another person who's there, because your next deal may not come from the person that you're actually talking to, or maybe the 4 or 5 people that you spoke with at the event, but if they remember, you make yourself memorable and practice your pitch and make it very effective, because if you make yourself memorable, they're going to remember you. Oh, you know what, this agent, you're looking at buying a house, let me give you this person's card. Oh, here's their information. They said that they're a real estate agent and they specialize in this, so why don't you give them a call? I always tell agents that I'm working with, you never know where your next book of business is coming from. I've literally been at restaurants and overheard a real estate conversation, and that was a prospect, turned them into a lead, and we closed a house.
So how do you stay memorable then? Because at networking events, people are always passing out business cards. I have piles of business cards. I'm like, I have no idea who even gave me this. How do you stay memorable then?
I stay memorable. There's a few things that I do, but just for the sake of simplicity, the way that I come across with you is the way that I come across with everybody else. And so at some point they're like, wow, she knows her stuff.
Very warm.
Yeah, very warm, very personable. I'm not what you call salesy. I'm not hyperactive, like over, just over the top. If I have to be, I will. One of the things that, I'm very proud of my accolades and my designations and so on and so forth. So, and there's a time and a place to bring that up as well. Some people really appreciate it and they want you to go on and on and on, and then they decide to work with you because of that. But for me, it's just being approachable. One of the key things you want to remember is to listen. So stop at some point. Again, it goes back to body language. Stop at some point and just hear what they are saying. So there's active listening, and then there's just like, okay, I hear you. Make sure you're actively listening to someone. So it might seem like a regular conversation, but like go in laser focus just try it a couple times. Like when you're talking to someone, it could be a family member, it could be someone out in public, but look at them and give them time to talk and express themselves. And it's so funny how this all works psychologically speaking. Sometimes when you just are quiet and you're listening, actively listening, which means you're taking all in the conversation, what they're saying, you're reading body language, so you're taking all the stimuli, right? And the funny thing will happen, at least in my experience, is that they'll continue to talk and converse and talk. And now that wall is down and they feel like they feel a little bit more comfortable with you. And so in my experience, I have to say, people share things with me on the first conversation that I don't know that they share with everybody. I have to say that. It's happened many times. But I think for me, I can speak for myself, is that just being warm, my salesiness is probably in my numbers, about my market. I'm a market expert. I know what's going on in my market. So I think people nowadays, they want that more than ever, because they can go online and look at all this stuff, but there's this human element that people, I think, still crave at the end of the day. And I want to point to that. So like with some of the iBuyer platforms that are available where people can conduct their own transactions, that number is still a very low number, because statistics show that I think it's like 86% now of home buyers, for example, according to National Association of Realtors, still prefer to work with a realtor, with a real estate agent. So with that, well, then what does that mean? Well, that's great news for us because, I'm still relevant. So guess what? Well, if you're relevant, because there's so much competition out here, who's a realtor there, you have to do something that helps you stand out. So one of the other things is, remember I mentioned earlier, the doing a self-assessment. You want to do a self-assessment so that you can, it's also helpful to do that so that you can understand who you are and how other people may perceive you. So that's one of the other things is doing that, but also integrating your personality. No matter what no matter what that looks like, integrate your personality and make it work to the benefit of your business. So I know I'm getting pretty granular with this, but most people think, I have to have a certain personality for real estate. I have to do it this way. I have to do that way. I think where people mess up is they go so far out of who they are that they end up not doing very well at all. You literally have to use what you have and put that integrated that into your business and create a business model based on your personality, your skill sets, and it works. So you always tell people, you don't have to be the noisiest person in the room.
No.
You can be the quiet person who's very observant, you know what's going on. And if you're an introvert, that's fine. You do want to practice talking to people and getting used to being in crowds or having conversations. But again, there's a stereotype, I think, especially because on television we see everything, right? But you don't have to be super salesy and all over the place and crazy.
But wait, there's more.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's where, I always want my agents that I'm working with, and as a team lead and as their mentor, I want them to understand, listen, don't feel bad if you don't look like this person online or if you don't look like this person at a networking event. Practice your craft and use what you have, because you have something in your personality or skill set that person doesn't, and you might be more successful than they are because of that.
100%. Everyone's a Michael Jordan at something. They just got to figure out what they're a Michael Jordan
right.
at.
There you go. That's it.
Problem
Absolutely.
is, a lot of people just don't do the work to find out what they're a Michael Jordan at.
That's it.
Yeah.
We just have to do the work, and we have to show up for ourselves. And one of the things that I think is really, really important to remember is there's a lot going on in social media, online. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else, because that actually is, it causes issues, right? So what you want to do, it's a thing now. So what I instruct newer agents and just anybody really I'm talking to who's doing something like a new startup or whatever, because I've done those consultations as well in the past, but what you want to do is, if you're going to be online and looking at other people, don't compare yourself, but take something from them that you think could work in your business. Like if you see something that they're doing that maybe you could take part of that and use it in your business, and if it works, fine. But the whole comparison thing, don't do that, because it's destructive, it's negative. Yeah. So just be the best version of yourself in your profession as a real estate agent.
My life got infinitely better when I deleted myself from social media.
Really?
I actually paid a guy a couple $1,000s to find things of me on social media. And just like wipe my existence from.
Really? That's awesome.
So
okay.
So you won't find any information on me on social media platforms from 2018 and earlier.
Okay.
It was crazy, because he actually found like pictures and like things of people I didn't even know. I'm just like a blip in the background, but it's clearly me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. It
wow.
It has me a little concerned about like just how much of people are out there that they don't even know about.
Yeah.
But like comparing yourself, like I tell people all the time, nothing good comes from comparing yourself to other people, because if you compare yourself to people who are worse off than you, whatever that may mean, all that's going to do is inflate your ego and make you think you're better than you really are, right. and then one day that ego is going to get popped by the sharpest of needles, and then you're going to find out just how not amazing you are.
I love it.
And then, but then if you compare yourself to people who are better than you, well, all you're doing is you're comparing someone's step 100 while you're on step 5.
Exactly.
Well, of course you're gonna pale in comparison. You know,
Yeah.
they've been doing it for ages.
Yeah.
You just got started.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to do that to yourself. You
Yeah.
just have to find out, again, like you say, what you're the best in.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
That's it. No, I mean that's good food for thought right there. It's very important for people in this day and age just to be their authentic self, and you can always improve on yourself. You know, when you're taking this journey, I will say that real estate is probably one of the top industries, one of the top professions that will teach you almost everything about business. And what I mean is, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to sell. You learn how to research and discover. You learn about business, how to establish a business, how to connect with others, you understand the collaborative process. There's a lot that goes into, selling real estate, if you will. And I think a lot of people just think that that's what that is. But my goal when I run into a newer agent or someone who wants to refresh their business model is, okay, how have you been doing things? And even if you come from a different background, how did you do things back then? Were you assertive? Or are you the aggressive type? And if you're not the aggressive type, okay, that's fine. But you at least need to have some assertion, because you do have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's a very, and it teaches you that too, real estate as a whole, but it's a very interesting profession. It can be complex, it can be overwhelming, but there are some things that you could put in place in your business, from the start, foundationally speaking, as you grow, to help make things a little bit more seamless for you. Yeah.
100%. No, I love it. All right, so I want to get to your mentorship program, and just want to ask about that, because again, I want to get a lot of information out to other, not just starting realtors, but just starting entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So the very first question on my mind is, I'm going to assume that you've trained dozens of people, probably potentially hundreds, potentially thousands.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So from your experience, from what you've seen, I guess the very first question is, someone hopping into this industry, what should they expect as far as the day they get their license and the day they close their first deal? Tell me about that. And
that could be.
It can go as far as short as you want, because I know this is a layered question.
Yeah, man, that's it could take different. Say you're a new agent, right? And you just got your license. So again, what do I do with my license? What do I do now? Well, you have to affiliate or join a brokerage. You decide what you want to do. We went through those steps, interview, talk to, research. Now you landed a brokerage. Now you, what we call, hung your license at a brokerage. So now that you've joined them, if they have a lead generation system for you and they provide the leads to you, that's awesome, because then you become part of the, you basically get on this, get involved or put in the system to receive leads. So you get set up to receive the leads.
Part of their pipeline.
Yes. So you get set up to receive leads, and let's just say, you have a really good lead. It's a warm lead. Now you've got them converted, and they feel good about it, and you all are looking to move forward. So that warm lead turns into a hot lead. Everybody feels good about working with each other. They have hired you as their agent. What you want to do is make sure that they are pre-approved. All right, you can't do anything. You can't buy a house without being pre-approved unless you're purchasing with cash. That's one of the things you do want to ask. Don't worry about being intrusive. Ask the right questions in the beginning. It's going to save you so much time. So once you find out if they're not paying cash for the home, then you say, okay, we're going to utilize financing. Do you have a lender or a loan officer that you're working with? If they don't, we can make recommendations, and we usually provide 2 or 3 names of loan officers or lenders that they can work with. If they don't have any, they ask us, well, who do you recommend? They select the lender that they want to work with. Once they complete their application for the home loan, then they get a pre-approval letter. And once you receive a copy of the pre-approval letter, then now you can start house shopping, is what I call it, house hunting. But while you're waiting on that, what you want to do initially, okay, while you're waiting on the approval from the loan officer or the lender, initially you want to find out in your buyer's consultation, because you should be doing a buyer's consultation. And if you don't know how to do that, you need to ask your broker or your team lead. So the buyer's consultation gives you an opportunity to really get to know who you're going to be working with. What are their requirements for this new home that they're going to move into or that they want to purchase? Why are they buying right now? Are they downsizing? Do they need more space? Are they relocating from a different market, another city? Well, what brings them to Tampa? These are very important questions to ask because they set the tone for how you're going to be working with them. And you want to remember what they tell you. Remember I said active listening? So you want to remember what they're telling you so that every step of the way you're reminded, because sometimes buyers get stressed out in the process and they kind of forget things that you've covered. So you want to use the information that they've shared with you and reiterate, now remember, this is why you're buying your home. Don't forget, and that's a whole nother class for another day. But once you find out that information and you have a literal list of their requirements, you definitely want to let them know also that, hey, if we don't find the perfect home, with everything checked off, are you willing to kind of trade out just in case if everything else checks off but you don't have this one thing? Are you open to that? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, great. So now you have your buyer's list of criteria for the home that they're looking for: neighborhood, home type, number of bedrooms and baths, pool or no pool, fence, for the kids or for the pets, and whatever else that looks like. So once you get to that point, then you have a pre-approval letter. Now you can go looking for a home. If you find a home immediately, which in this market that can happen, that's great. But again, this market is unique because we have multiple offers on every property that hits the market. But in what I would call a balanced market or a normal market, you find the home, you make an offer, the offer is accepted by the seller. Once the offer is accepted, you have a fully signed contract. Then the lender is made aware of that. The title company that the party's going to be working with is made aware of that. And that time frame from the time that you've spoken with the buyer, that they were your lead, and you first talked to them, to the time that they close, because that could literally take maybe 35, 45 days in this market. But in a normal market, it could take a little bit longer. It really depends on the buyer and what they're looking for and how flexible they are with certain things that their criteria. If they're really, really tough to work with, that's a whole another class too, because sometimes people know what they want, and sometimes there's the fantasy versus the reality.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to bring our customers into reality and say, look, based on what you've been approved for, this is how much home you can afford, and this is what this home looks like in terms of a sales price. And let's get this home, and then let's grow your equity in your house, and then a few years down the road, now you can upgrade to something like this. How does that sound? So that takes a little bit of you have to be takes a little bit more confidence when you're at that level. But it's okay to start practicing that from the beginning so that you can become an expert. So to answer your question, I kind of took it around the way, but to answer your question, it's kind of hard to say from start to finish what that looks like, because it honestly depends on the buyer. You have other parties that are involved in the transaction, which could also affect the timeline. So you have title companies, they do the title search, they do other things, they look at everything else, they're ordering the surveys, they're doing this, they might have a hiccup along the way. The title might actually have something going on with it where it can't be transferred just yet, just because there's something else, so they have to iron that out. I've conducted transactions that I thought would be seamless, straightforward, ready to go. Title sends me an email or gives me a call, hey, there's a little hiccup here, we got to get, that could extend it for about a week to a week and a half to 2 weeks or whatever that looks like. And if that happens, then all the parties agree, okay, we're in this transaction, we do have to take care of this and move it forward. it's kind of hard to say what a normal transaction looks like to close.
Oh,
In a
no such thing
perfect
as a
world,
normal transaction.
no. In a perfect world, 2 weeks, but that's typically going to be a cash transaction. But because we've had changes with in the real estate industry, lenders have had to kind of tweak their processes as well and provide quicker timelines to closing. So we're looking at financing deals that could take now maybe 21 days to close.
That's fast.
I literally did one in 19 days. Yeah. And because you have to understand, again, now to answer your question, there's no normal time frame. It's I would say if someone was looking for like a number, maybe from the time you speak with your buyer to the time you close them, it just depends. But if your buyer's pre-approved and your house hunting phase could take a while too, because they're trying to find the perfect house. So that can knock your timeline off. If you're looking at 30 days to close and get a check, that's probably not going to happen, especially with a first-time home buyer.
How long does it take most of your agents to get their first deal?
Usually a couple of months.
Okay.
It takes a few months because what happens is when you're a new agent, even though you might have access to all this training and support and everything, and I've seen it happen time and time again, at the end of the day, there's a common denominator. That common denominator is confidence. So even though you have everything around, you have all these tools and all this access, but you're not confident. So that's why you're not really sealing the deal right now. And you could be if you can get out of your own way.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some stats on that. I've heard there's some stats like most agents don't close their first deals for maybe like 6 months, and that's if they're really assertive, they're go-getters, and they're moving while they're learning everything that they need to learn, and they can close. There have been some rare cases where some can close in 3 months, 2 months, or whatever. But I think with those individuals, they probably have started doing some networking beforehand. And started really learning things and just researching the heck out of everything to make sure that, okay, by the time I get my license, I want to be able to close. Maybe these people are assertive and they have their own timelines. Like maybe they have a calendar and they've built out. So I will say this, if you want to close your first deal after you get licensed in a really quick time frame, whatever that looks like 2 months, give it 2 months. 3 months, give yourself some time. But it can be done. It depends on are you a go-getter? Are you proactive? Are you up every morning? If you set a routine for yourself, are you taking a walk? Are you going to the gym? What is it that gets you going in the morning? And then, because how you get up in the morning is going to dictate typically the rest of your day.
Absolutely.
So for newer agents, be a go-getter. If you're just sitting around at the house because you have a license and you're watching TV shows, and just doing like marathons all day, you're not going to sell real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate is very involved. It is a very involved process, and you're not going to. Well, I've carried transactions digitally, but I know what I'm doing. So I could do Zooms, I could do a buyer consultation through a Zoom with a buyer. I can work with a seller. I've sold property and not met the sellers, but everything is in place. I have title companies and partners that handle certain aspects of the transaction to make sure it's done ethically and legally. But as a newer agent, you want to be proactive. You want to get out there, get in your car, drive your market, look at the maps. I always tell my team, look at the map. Look at the numbers, and like you have access to statistical information that shows you what our market is doing, and you need to convey this information in a way that's digestible to your customers and help them understand why they should or should not go with this, make this decision based on their criteria and based on what the market is doing.
Yeah. So one thing so when I first started getting into the real estate game, one thing I used to do was on Sundays, I would just go on Zillow and Redfin, just look at like all the open houses, and just spend the entire afternoon just driving to each and every one. Like, oh, this is a $300,000 house. Oh, this is a $800,000 house. I'll be back for that one.
Exactly.
In about 12 years.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's $800,000 house.
$800,000.
Yeah, and then I would collect the MLS data sheets, and then I would just go home and I would just study it. All right, cool. What makes this $800,000 house? And after you analyze about like 50 of those, which sounds like a lot, but you can actually do that in about 2 to 3 weeks of just collecting. You kind of get a sense of, all right, this house is overpriced, this house is underpriced. What do I have to do to cash flow this one? Plus after a while of doing that for like a year and a half, I see like, hey man, these houses in this area used to be $100,000 houses. Now they're $300,000 houses. I should probably do something in this area. So, and you actually don't even need a license for that.
Yeah, you don't really. So that's the thing. So, and a lot of people ask me, do I need a license to do real estate? And first of all, I was like, well, what does do real estate mean to you? What are you wanting to do in real estate?
Good rebuttal.
Because a lot of people say that,
That's a brilliant rebuttal.
Yeah. You want an income producing property? Do you want to build homes? You want to be a developer, do construction? Are you building your first home? Are you buying a primary residence? Are you what do you want to do? You operate short-term rentals?
I want to be a wholesaler. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's a whole. Let me tell you, it's
that's a part 2.
It's a part 2, and I will tell you, it is not for the faint of heart. Just like this, it is not. It is a beast. It is.
It's probably the hardest way to do real estate.
It is. It's tough.
But if you can do it.
And then if you decide to do anything else in real estate, you can do it. Because if you can get through that and do well and stay in the game and not give up, because you learn so much. Oh my goodness, you learn a lot. So you can do anything once you do that. But for people who want to do real estate, well, in what capacity? So I just happen to be what they call an investor-friendly realtor.
Very.
So because I can conduct analysis, and so that's why I'm able to help people when they're buying a primary residence to show them the track towards investment real estate. Okay, so not all real estate agents or not all realtors are investor friendly or investment friendly. So if you are wanting to go down that avenue, seek out somebody who's experienced in that capacity so that you don't get messed up. What was your question? You probably have to edit that too.
It wasn't so much of a question as it was you were building off of something I was saying about just.
So sorry, I thought this was turned. Is something wrong with my phone? I'm so sorry. I feel awful. This is crazy. It's just like the bloopers moment. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna turn this thing off. All right, let me turn this off. So sorry, my apologies. Oh my gosh, it's off. It is off.
All right. So you were building off of a statement I made about. We were talking about you don't really need a license to do real estate. You just have to figure out what kind of real estate you want to do first, because there's so many avenues and also just different things you could do if you want to get licensed. Just activities you can do, like just driving around, studying, talking to other agents, talking to brokers.
Yeah, you don't really. So you don't need a license for that. So initially, if you're looking at getting your license, remember I mentioned there's some things that you could. The people who seem to jump in and get started right away, those are probably ones that did the driving around to get to know their market. So as a new real estate agent, you kind of got to know your market. If you don't know your playground, then you can't sell anything in your playground, because you don't have a basis, you don't know what's going on. So definitely drive around in your market, take a look at the map, get to know all the zip codes in the areas that you want to service. You don't have to service all areas and zip codes. You don't have to service all counties, but pick some areas that you like. That's a good place to start. Well, do you like the homes in this area? Do you want to go for luxury? Do you want to go for mid-range? Like the median sales price, I think now is like $350 something, $360 or whatever. Do you want to, sell homes in that capacity? You can definitely go online and look at some of these platforms that have, because a lot of the information is fed from MLS, not all of it, but these are some of the things that you can do to get to know your market. And like you said, you notice that, oh, well, this home was this, and now that it's this, just a month or so later. You start to understand the numbers and how the velocity at which these numbers or these prices are increasing, how things are selling and why they're selling, or if there's a home that stays on the market longer and you're reading the description, oh, well, maybe it's because of this, or maybe this wasn't done to this home, and maybe that's why this one sold, because it was completely move-in ready or turnkey, and maybe there's a little bit more work that needs to be done. Well, what else is it? Is it on a septic? Is this property on a septic? Oh, well, maybe that's the reason why it's staying on nobody wants to deal with that right now. So the information will tell you a lot. It's up to you as a new agent or as a wholesaler or whatever capacity of real estate you're working in. It is really up to you to gain as much knowledge as possible so that you can be a value add to whoever you're servicing. And I always say, don't take any of your customers or clients for granted, because you never know that they can be your gold mine. I've had clients that have referred me 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Oof. So, but it is a testament to how I operate. People like to hear stats and information. I'm just saying, you can gloss over anything, but when you know your stuff, there's all this stuff here. But when you know your stuff, that's kind of how I do it. But anyway, but when you have that knowledge base, people appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my first mentor, he told me that he said in this day and age where everybody can just Google everything, and they think they know everything because they did like 45 minutes of research.
Yeah.
He said he told me that people buy from you for 2 reasons. Actually 3 reasons. They like you, they believe you, and they trust you.
Yes.
And he says, well, like you, all you need is a good personality. I'll believe you. All you have to do is throw stats at them. But the hardest part is trust them. How do you gain their trust? And he said the way to do that is by teaching them something that they can't find on the internet. Teaching them something that they don't know. Because if someone's done hours and hours of research, and you throw a curveball at them, and it makes them think, oh man, what else don't I know? What else can this person teach me?
That's right.
And you're not going to do that without putting in the homework of studying the market.
That's it. You can't get by that. And that's honestly, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's where we are right now. I feel like that's more and more what people are that's where we are, because they have so much access to information.
Yeah, I mean, I just go right on Redfin. I'm like, oh, I know everything about Tampa.
Right?
What do I need you for?
What do I need you for? Yeah. And people have said that.
What do I need you?
Well, let's sit down and let me tell you why you need me. No, but you do throw them a curveball. Throw them something that they, even if they think they know this one aspect or this one stat, well, maybe it depends on how they interpret it too. I know you know that, but have you thought about this?
So, like, what's an example then?
Oh man, there's tons. Oh my goodness. First thing that pops up, because of where we are in our market right now, in the Tampa Bay market, in the state of Florida, honestly, because we are at the top of the list now. We were the #1 relocation destination in 2020. So that brought a lot of people to our state. And so individuals residents who were already living here, working, live, work, play, they kind of been on the fence for a couple of years, wanting to purchase and wanting to buy. And then they're like, oh, I can't wait till this crashes, or I can't wait, I'm just gonna wait. Or you wanna wait when you see that prices are continuing to go up, you see that interest rates are going up, and you see how many people coming here to the state. So I don't know if you know this or not, but there's over 300,000 people projected from this year through 2026 to move to the state of Florida. A lot of them going to be heavily concentrated in our Tampa Bay market.
Yes.
So that makes our inventory super tight. So guess what? I provide these stats, and it really paints the picture, and then you can literally physically see it on their faces, like their face, the demeanor, everything changes. They're like, oh, yeah, this is a real thing. So do you want to buy now, or you want to continue to wait? Because what's going to happen is there's what we call a cost to waiting to buy. It's going to push you out of the market.
The opportunity cost.
That's it.
Because 2 years from now, that house that you're looking at, that's $300,000.
Yeah.
It's going to be $420,000.
Thank you for saying that, because I have a buyer who I started with a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago. They were just really nervous and scared, and a friend was like, okay. And usually when I talk with someone, they understand, they get it, work with them for a while. But they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait till the prices go down. I said, that's not what's happening. Oh. And so now the approval that they received back then is $150,000 less now.
Less?
Yes, because the interest rates have gone up.
Yeah, they're at 5% now.
Yes, they're 5%. This morning they were, 5.01%. No, 5.07%. So 5.1%.
Yeah. And just 3 months ago, it was at 3.25%.
Exactly. And then
that's 2 months.
That's 2 months, I know. But rates they're gonna go back down, but then they're gonna go back up. So we can expect this little thing, up and down thing, a little bit for the rest of the year. I will just say that, put that out there. But yes, it cost her. So now she says, okay, I wanna start looking. I'm like, okay, let's sit down. I'm gonna show you exactly what has happened because you decided you waited. And so she's
that poor woman.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. She could have got way more house for her money than there's nothing. And so do not wait to buy if you're looking to buy. It's not a sales pitch. Like, you're gonna really hurt yourself if you don't. Yeah, it's a real thing. And a lot of people have been pushed out of the market. So one of the examples I wanted to give is that example, case in point. So you have residents who were here, and the one thing that I tell them is that, if they think they know everything already, no, that's happening, but let me tell you what else you might not know. And I give them provide the information. They're like, oh, well, yeah, so do you want, based on this, I think we should move forward. Well, you're right, because I didn't know that. Yeah, because if you don't, 6 months from now, you're really gonna be out.
Yeah.
You're really gonna be out. So that's one of the things, when you're discussing your market, your numbers, the stats, the dynamics of the market, of the economy, and there's a lot that you want to study and be confident at. And you can share this information with your customers when they feel like, oh, wait, I didn't know that. Okay, well, that's where that trust.
And this is something any realtor, any business person, any salesperson can do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, any salesperson, any entrepreneur, any startup. Know your market. Like if you're not in real estate, for example, and you want to set up an ice cream shop, or you're a barber, or whatever that looks like, or you have a pet grooming service, you want to know your market. You want to have information. Some people may feel like, well, you know what, I know what I'm doing. Well, one of the things that will help, I'll put this out here, newer agents, is develop a business plan. Create a business plan. It does not have to be a complex one. It could be a very simple, straightforward, but go online, there's tons of templates. But if you want to really get a good idea as to what you're going to be doing, make sure because that's what it does, it tells you what you're going to be doing. Create a business plan.
What do you think separates the realtors that succeed versus the ones that don't?
Hard work, persistence. And when I say hard work, I know people are on this thing like just work smarter. Yeah, work smarter, work with your technology, make good use of your time. That's working smart. But hard work, you can't throw that out the window.
There's no substitute for it.
Yeah. So the ones that are successful and the ones who have doors opened up for that, I can't tell you how many times that my name is in a room, I'm not even in there, and somebody discussed me, and then the doors are open. But I know why, because of my work ethic, and because I know what it takes. So hard work, consistency, staying on track. You might fall off a day or two. You might wake up one morning, I don't feel like it. Okay, we all have those days.
Yes.
But right, we do. We're human. It's normal. But get back on track. Don't stay in that space too long, because that could be detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get into one more topic, and then we got to go for the close because my cameras are dying.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
And I also know you're a busy woman.
Yes.
That badge on your chest that says GRI.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So GRI is it's Graduate Realtor Institute. And what this signifies is that it is a designation. It's awarded by the national body, our National Association of Realtors, which, by the way, is the largest trade organization in the United States. We have 1.5, going on 1.6 members. And so GRI means that we're the realtors who took the time out to undergo some intensive training, intensive study to earn the designation. We take an exam after all of that. And I think it's 1% of us in the nation that actually has the GRI designation.
1% of people, or 1% of realtors?
Of real estate agents.
Okay.
So remember, there's realtors and there's real estate agents. So out of real estate agents, there's a ton of agents, but the realtors are the ones that are held to that. We adhere to a strict code of ethics. Okay.
And the GRI is on top of that?
Yes. That's one of my designations. I don't know if we covered that earlier, but just kind of want to throw out a few of those designations and acronyms. GRI is one, and that's what that means. So here's the thing: if Not to say that there's not a good realtor who doesn't have the GRI designation, I'm not saying that, but you want someone who has proven themselves and they can show you, okay, I take this serious. We take this very seriously. If we're earning designations and we're awarded by our governing bodies, it's a serious thing. We do this full time. I'm a full-time agent. I'm a producing agent. I lead a team. I've worked in nearly every capacity of real estate. So I also have the PSA, which is a pricing strategy advisor. So I'm a pricing strategy advisor. I'm also a global real estate practitioner. I am a certified international property specialist. Those are two of the international designations that I have. I am also a real estate negotiation expert, which is, I love it. I'll eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love that part. So and it goes on and on. But those are the things that when you're looking at who to hire to work for you and with you during this transaction, whether you're buying or selling, whether it's investment real estate, you want to look at things like that. It just shows you the extent that I took to, be this knowledge base for you as a customer.
Yeah. How does one become an international realtor? I've never heard that until.
Well, I'm gonna tell you. So I've recently been appointed by the National Association of Realtors to their Global Business and Alliances Committee. Yay. So yeah, it goes on and on, I know. But it's really exciting because remember when I talked about doors being open for you? So there are people who actually are looking at you and looking at your track record, looking at your, how you've progressed over the years and what you're doing, how you work, and you're working ethically. So that allows you to be able to step into opportunities where you can conduct real estate transactions globally or internationally. So what that means is I have a network. I'm very resourceful. So I have network, for example, money exchange or currency exchange companies who can help to facilitate that part of the transaction. Title companies, loan officers. If there's an opportunity for hard or private money, if that's what a customer wants, then I have that in my network. So to help them get through it.
So international. So does that mean that you're helping clients from outside of the U.S. or you're selling properties outside of the U.S. or?
Yeah. So absolutely both. It goes both ways. So for case in point, for example, and this is a lot more complex side of real estate.
This is wild.
Yeah, I know. I'm wild. I know. And so is my team when they tell you. But that's what they get by working with me. And I don't bring on everybody. I do 3 interviews. There's a vetting process because of what they're going to get by the time they get to me. Mm-hmm. So say, for example, there's a customer here who wants to purchase a property in another country, okay? I can help facilitate that because depending on where they are in the world, then there's a network set up for me to connect with my associate on that end of the globe to help to make this transaction occur for this buyer or seller. Okay, so we have everything that we need in place to help move the transaction forward. Now, if there's somebody in another country that wants to purchase here, same goes there. And that's why I don't really talk about the international side of it much, but that's what we do as the Goynes Group.
So it's just so if I'm understanding this correctly, you can let me know if I missed the ball by a mile.
Sure.
It's more or less just you're a representative agent on the international scale, seller's agent, buyer's agent.
Yeah, that's
and you're working with other high-level people.
Right. In my network, high-level people that we have, it's a network. We are associated with them. Give you an example. So we had a trade mission trip, our global real estate practitioner group. There's only 124 of us in the world that have the global real estate practitioner designation. Yes. There's 124 today. I checked the day before yesterday. So there's only 124 of us. And so
out of 7 billion people on the planet.
Yeah. So what we do as part of that is going kind of to your point so we set up trade mission trips. We just went to Dubai. So a couple of my team members went to Dubai. That was in March. They just got back towards the end of March. We have another one set up for Belize this year. So to give you an example, I have customers who want to purchase property in Belize. They want to purchase land, they want to purchase investment opportunities. And so I have a network in Belize. When I go down there, we have our meeting. We're going to decide how we're going to make this happen for this group of customers who want to purchase and invest in Belize, and we make that happen.
These are not your average.
It's not normal.
No, these are not your average mom, like soccer mom. I want to buy a house clientele. These are elite clientele that you could probably name drop, but you.
No.
I won't ask you to name drop.
I know you won't. I know.
But
they would be upset. They would be upset. No. And then there are individuals who just they have a higher net worth, but they are not necessarily pro athletes. Even though I service pro athletes as well, the entertainment industry, and the professional athlete industry.
Are you allowed to name any teams? Okay.
We signed non-disclosure agreements, so I'm not. Confidentiality, so I better not do that.
We'll stop right there.
But I will tell you, what I can say is this: what appeals to them is everything that we talked about. The likability factor, the trust, just not being so salesy and so pitchy. Just be yourself and make that work for you. Everybody's not going to work with you, newer agents, and that's okay. But I present myself. This is who I am. This is Aminta, and I have added to my personality all the information and the stats, the details, and those types of individuals, just like anybody else, but especially so, they really appreciate the information. Because they can hire anybody, they can go anywhere, right? So what is it about you that stands out to them? What is it? What's the difference?
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to the level that you are? Or what was that process?
With the designations, I've served on boards. I'm actually on the board of directors for Florida Realtors too. I forgot to say that, but it didn't take that long. I'm very intentional. Remember I said that in the beginning. So I'm very intentional, very strategic. So I decided that I wanted to start, providing some service on some of our governing bodies. And then one thing led to another. Oh, I'm gonna get a designation. Oh, what does that look? And then I just kept it, and it didn't stop. It took me, a couple of years. But I think it's because of my doggedness in the process. Talking to a lot of people. I love discovery and exploration, and I infuse that in my business. It's taken me through some doors and opportunities that I think most people would just kind of dream about. But I'm happy because I'm privy to some things that some people aren't. But I don't say it in a bragging way, but it's
you can brag, sister.
Yes, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. Yeah. And so one of the reasons, in addition to accommodating the growth that I had in my business, one of the reasons I decided to expand my team is so that I can pay it forward and produce some agents that are doing what I do, so that they can continue that level of competency and have that amazing expertise skill set and go out in the public and service the public with what what they have to offer.
What do you look for in a mentee?
Proactive, consistency, and work. So what I will tell you is that, for example, I've had to turn some newer agents away because I operate a certain fashion. So this is the expectation, is that you're not going to be at my level, and that's okay. Yeah. If you aspire to be at my level or greater, then that's fine. But what do you have to offer right now? So if I sit with you for the first interview, okay, we go through the process, I get to know you, you get to know me and what my group does and what my team is about. And then after the interview, I don't hear from you, or you don't call me back, or you don't send a text, but out of the blue, a couple weeks later, hey, when's our next meeting? This literally happened. Oh, well, first of all, I'm gonna call you, or you're going to call me because you're still waiting on me, or we're going to have some exchange and let you know what, this might not be a good fit. You should be calling me that night. You should be texting me that evening, or right after when you're getting in the car. Thank you so much. Because this tells me how you're going to operate as a new real estate agent. Because guess what? This tells me how you're going to follow up with your customers. Are you proactive? Are you consistent? Are you really on top of it? We are in a very competitive market. So you have no room to wait 2 weeks. So these are some of the things that I look at when I talk to you. Okay, we get through that. Maybe, okay, so just let's say that person, not the agents that are on my team, are the ones that contacted me right after the meeting. Everything is a test.
Yes.
And then we have 2 more interviews, and then I bring some of my partner experts in just to, they're good. I put them on the spot. You're going to be on the spot when you're selling real estate, so why not go through it right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if someone wanted to want to reach out to you and join your team, how would they do that?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me. They can give me a call. I'm Aminta Goynes with the Goynes Group, Global Banker, and my number is 813-506-1073. Or they can reach out to me at Aminta and I'll spell it out, AMINTA .GOYNES at cbrealty.com.
And all of this is going to be in the description down below as well. All right. One final question. What kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
The impact that I want to have is, what's most important to me is that people understand that there are individuals who are professionals, who are ethical, and there are people in the world that they can trust to work with. So that if I had to, that would be my impact. Couple that with producing some stellar real estate agents.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is so cool. There's so much more I want to talk about. How do you feel about doing a part 2 one day?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Because I'm panicking right now. I'm like, there's so much more I want to talk about, but I can't right now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Real estate is such a complex world.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. So anytime, let's do it. I'm ready. Let's talk about it.
Oh, thank you so much, sister.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Wow. That was amazing.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad you enjoyed. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, there's so much to it. Oh my God.